friends. Welcome back to another episode of No Gears, No Glory. Today's episode, we're going to go over on how to remove the front wheel off a vintage motocross bike. Stick with us. Well, we're back to this messy beast. This is our 77 YZ400. I have gotten some questions and comments on some of my previous videos for this that it's not a 77 because it's different. Later model year 77s actually had their exhaust come out on the left side. The swing arm is tubular steel instead of the aluminum swing arm. So there was a lot of changes in the Yamaha YZ line in 76, 77, and 78. They made a lot of progressive changes. Some of those changes happened late in one year, early in the next, later that year, and early into the next. So this was a more 76 style, whereas later in 77, that were still 77, modern times would dictate they were like 78, but they didn't change the model year even though they made the upgrades. Hope that makes sense. This particular bike is just the earlier style. It's more reminiscent of the 76 style. Here we go. Now, one of the issues I currently have, and when I'm trying to move this thing around, is it's very stiff. It doesn't want to turn. Part of that is because I believe the front brake is slightly bound up. If not, the axle is void of any lubrication. So I'm thinking I want to start by maybe taking the front wheel off and see if we can't figure out why the wheel doesn't want to turn. And we can release that bind so that at least we have a rolling chassis and I can move it around in the garage as much as I need to. Well, there we go. All right, that gives us something to work with. So one of the first things I need to do in order to get the wheel off is take off this brake cable. Now, in an attempt to try to get the wheel to free up so I could spin it, and you can see here, like, as I spin it, it definitely has some pushback. You can see it even has some rebound. It does not want to roll forward. It actually rolls backwards better, which tells me that the brake is probably bound up in there. Anyhow, need to get this lock nut loosened up so that we can disconnect this brake cable. Unfortunately, this is one of the few nuts on here that isn't completely seized. Not sure if you can see this, but the threaded liner here that houses the cable is snapped in between this holder piece, and proper use of a wrench, by the way. Let's see if we can get some pliers or something to hold that. Almost got it. Almost got it. There we go. Whew. There we go. Useless. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. Let's get this wheel off. So the first thing we have to do on this front wheel is loosen this nut right here that captures our axle, which is a 12 millimeter socket. All right, now that we got that loosened up, we need to take our wrench and grab hold right here. The axle actually has a rounded head but flat sides, and we're going to grab these flat sides with our wrench, and then we're just going to start turning with the threaded ends on the opposite side here coming loose, and then we'll pull the axle straight out. She's a tight one. Now, I'll remind you, this bike hasn't moved much in many, many years. So, working on this axle to get it out is a bit of a challenge, but I'm going to keep working at it diligently and we'll get it out.
And we're getting looser and looser finally.
There's literally a rust dust coming out of this axle. So I successfully managed to start separating the hub and the wheel, so the brakes are exposed and the wheel's starting to turn a little bit more freely. It's not quite bound up as bad as it was. And on this side, here, again, the axle, it's threaded in. I think we've reached into those threads. However, I'm trying to tap it out and force it through. Doesn't seem to want to go. Give me a second and we will figure this out. The other issue that we're having right here is right there. You can see the block that's on the fork that holds the brake hub in place is also kind of stuck, and so we're kind of working that away from it as well. With the mallet, I'm tapping on the hub and this block and trying to break it all loose. Zero response. I went ahead and threw some white lithium grease on here to see if we can't get things freed up. And I spun the wheel a few times and it started to work its way in to the axle area. I got this side, got inside here, and so slowly but surely it's starting to work. And if we tip the bike up, we can see the wheel is actually starting to turn much easier. It'll actually roll a little bit now. It doesn't stop immediately. So we'll give that a couple minutes to work and see if we can make some headway there. She's rolling, rolling, rolling. That's better. Well, now that the axle's loose, the brake is not bound up anymore. And the axle, this is the most free this axle's turned in many, many years. Something's crunchy in there. It doesn't sound good. So it turns out we have an interesting case. This axle does not want to come out. It's very stubborn. What I've done is I've put the nut back on to tighten the axle down. I've sprayed some more white lithium grease and PB Blaster in there in the axle as many places as I can carry and get it to loosen up whatever that bind is. Basically what we want to do is ideally pull out this nut, spread this apart enough to pull the axle out. Obviously we would need to re-grease it before it goes back in. And I'm beginning to think it wasn't the brakes that were bound up, it was just the axle and the lack of grease and probably rust, years of rust inside of that axle and that wheel hub. We will get it. Well, I'm back on day 2. I ran out of time last night to try to get this axle off, and it's turned out to be quite a chore. Traditionally, axles will, once you loosen them up, they pull right out. I figured this one wasn't pulling right out, probably due to rust and corrosion within the axle, and that still may be the case. However, I still can't get it to come out. I've lubricated it quite a bit. I've got it, where it'll turn quite a bit. Whoops. And it's still been real stubborn, so I'm a little bit of a loss as to why it won't come out. There's maybe something about this particular axle and this particular wheel that maybe I'm just missing. I've looked online, I've looked for on YouTube and the other tutorials to see if I'm maybe missing something about this old type of axle. Found nothing. Came up short. So I'm going to continue on, seeing if we can't work it out. Here we go. One of the things I've been trying to do is using this extension to tap out the axle on the opposite side to see if maybe that I can press it out and it's still not moving. But let me give you an example of what I've been doing. right now our current hang-up is definitely here. The axle is moving out. It doesn't want to move around this. Here's what I've decided. I'm being pretty hard on that axle, and what I definitely don't want to do is destroy anything and have to replace it or try to source parts to fix it or cobble together new parts. I've decided that I'm going to actually go ahead and take the triple tree apart and pull the forks off the axle off the frame. I just went ahead and lubricated all the bolts for the triple tree with PB Blaster, and I'm going to go ahead and let those soak for a few and maybe give a test turn to a couple of them, and if they're loose enough we'll go ahead and start removing the forks. Alright, here on the triple tree, the bolts here are all 12mm, or supposed to be. Seems to be correct. And so we got the right size. Let's see if we can give, okay, we've got a little bit of turn in there. Obviously I need to have, you know, a wrench on both sides, but they're not completely frozen. That's a good thing. So when you're pulling bolts apart like this on a old piece of machinery, or anything for that matter, I recommend bagging them up and labeling them, and that's what I'm going to do. These crush washers, there's a washer and a crush washer here. The crush washer's been crushed for so long, it's permanently crushed. Alright, our triple tree is loose. Our forks should be able to come out. I have never taken forks off a bike like this before, so this should be interesting. These should theoretically pop out. Let's go up as high as we can on the jack and see if maybe we can't give a tap to these forks with the rubber mallet. All right. Finally, we're making some progress somewhere. I'm just going to take a screwdriver and gently kind of twist these clamps apart. See if we can't just get a little bit of separation. You know what we're going to do? We're going to move those handlebars too. Now, they're out of our way. It's the little things that you get tripped up on that you don't realize. Let me show you why I'm fighting on this side. The last OHV sticker that I had was from California, and we put it on the forks. Well, it's super faded and it's silver, so I didn't even notice it was still there, and it's basically binding up here at the clamp for the triple tree. So I'm gonna have to push it back in, take that sticker off, and hopefully it'll start coming out. That's next. And that's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen, when you don't know what you're doing and you have no other way. Pounding them all the way out. It is what it is. So there we go. There we go. That was a lot of work for very little payoff. For right now, it'll pay off soon. So here's what we're left with. The tattered remains of what used to be the front forks and the front wheel of this dirt bike. The idea was, once we got the wheel off, we could basically pull the fork off the axle. Pretty sure we can do it with that one. Let's see. Let's see what happens if we just... Look at that. Huh. Okay. All right. So here we are. This is what we're left with. We got the forks off the axles and the front wheel is free, which was our original goal. However, didn't expect to go this route. So we're going to wrap this video up here. On our next video, we're going to attack that axle and figure out why it doesn't want to come out. And now that we have the wheel free, it should be a lot easier to figure that out visually and physically. So I appreciate you guys sticking around watching this video. Hope you're enjoying this project, and we'll see where it leads. maybe check out some of the other content on my channel. See if we have some content that you like and enjoy. And if you haven't subscribed, maybe please consider doing so. Follow this project along, and you may enjoy some of the stuff that we got coming up. Thanks so much for sticking around. This is Jeremy with No Gears, No Glory, signing off on another one. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.